Okay, well, let's start off with larger companies, and I'll give you some of the pros and cons as I see them, and we'll kind of go around the horn here. But let's start with pros. The thing I find about a larger company that can be a pro for a military member or a veteran or a spouse is a structured environment. Larger companies have been around for a while. They tend to have more processes and procedures in place, and that tends to ring pretty well for veterans. So that's kind of my first. Second one is opportunities for advancement. Guys, if you're looking to move up the ladder, maybe you took a little bit of a step back when you jumped over to the civilian world, a larger company can provide more opportunities for advancement. So that'd be my second. And then my third, and I'll kick it over to Chris after that, is resources and benefits. If you've got a larger company, they tend to have healthcare plans in place that may be a little more robust, skills and training plans and policies that are in place that may be a little more robust. So there's some good things to look for when you're making the jump over to a larger company.
Yeah, I think building on what you said, Randy, larger companies have generally been around longer, which means that they generally know who they are. Now, all companies go through different life cycles and different phases, and you have to be a little bit aware of what phase they're in. Are they on the up phase? Are they on the stable phase? Or are they on the downslope phase? And it doesn't mean that there aren't great companies to work for that are transforming, and maybe especially right now with AI coming on board, they haven't traditionally been a tech company. Now everybody has to be a tech company, right? So, even Apple got down to like $4-5 at one point, not that long ago in my lifetime. So, you just have to really understand what that company is and what that company isn't. The longer they've been around, the more they know who they are. It's posted on their websites. And you have the ability to decide, is that a company culture that is actually going to be fruitful for me? What Randy also said is that more defined and developed training programs, more defined and developed internal career opportunity programs. And honestly, the benefits, that is a huge thing when you're looking at what's important to you and what's important to your family. Jason, your thoughts?
I'm going to throw out SkillBridge. So a larger company is going to have the ability for a transitioning service member to utilize maybe SkillBridge as a way to get some exposure there. Another thing that I think about when I think of a large company, and I'm going to throw this out there. Look, I agree with both of you. You have already hammered on the major points. So I'm trying to bring something new. That's the drag about being last, is that everybody takes all the good answers. So I'm going to throw out that when it comes to a large company, let's say that you don't really want to be in your geographic location. Well, that large company might have 15, 30, 50, 1,000 locations throughout the U.S. So you can utilize that to shift your geographic location over time if you want to mirror up with some specific veteran benefits. Maybe you want to get to a state that has no real estate tax for 100% veterans, right, for those benefits. Or maybe you want to get to an area that has an outstanding dependent education benefit. So you want to move states for these additional benefits. That would be a way to look at leveraging working for a large company. So those would be kind of two of the things that I think about. Randy, what else you got for us?
Well, I think all the pros that we talked about here are completely valid, but got to be fair and balanced here. So let's talk about some of the disadvantages. And you didn't get to go first last time, Jason. So I'm going to throw it over to you. What do you see as some of the disadvantages for a veteran spouse, a military member transitioning to moving over to a large company? What are the disadvantages there?
So, okay. For me, this is just one that comes to the top of my head. And this is what's great about this, because this is totally unscripted, right? We come up with the topic and we don't really think about it until we're here. And the first thing that pops into my mind is that a large company can be a bit set in its ways, a little less flexible, would you say, right? So where you might have, so that's going to lead to an individual's kind of own desires, right? Do you want to impact change? Do you want to be a change agent? Do you want to help shift and morph and change that company? Well, you might not be as happy in a large company because they can tend to be a bit cemented and have a lot of their own kind of red tape or bureaucracy. So what do you have for us, Chris?
Yeah, I think we're touching on some of the downsides of maturity and structure. That if you're frustrated by the maturity and structure in the military, cycle times on how to get things done fast, or work processes that require way too many signatures. If you're going to go to a large company, you can expect now it generally will be better, unless it's one of the largest companies in the world. But where that structure can be a source of frustration is a con for sure. And Jason, you also touched on something. If you're a mover and a shaker and you get a little bit frustrated on things like having to wait a certain amount of time to get promoted, even though you're kicking ass, and making sure that you are greasing all the skids, as we used to say, to make sure that your work is being seen by all the people who are making decisions on your career, you're going to find some of the same things in larger companies. Whereas a smaller company, you're going to be a lot closer to the decision makers. A smaller company will be less structured. So if you're like me and you like to do a lot of different things outside of your own job description, you're going to have more opportunity to do that stuff at smaller companies than you would say at a larger company, which is, a company that has very organized division of labor, very clear and specific goals for you, which is great. So then you know how you're measured. There's lots of benefits of being in that structured company. However, if you do have that entrepreneurial spirit or edge, and you don't care about lines of reporting, or you just like, the customer needs this, I need to go get it done, or the customers wish that they had built that they had a product that could do this, I'm going to go build it. Those are the things. Now, again, I think the last thing about this is you may want to start at a larger company and then move smaller over time, because going from very large structured environment to a very small unstructured environment, even though that might be more what you're looking for, your unique nature, that's a hard transition. And we'll talk about some of our transition experiences around these topics, and as we continue to speak. Back to you, Randy.
Yeah, I would say for me, there's a couple of cons that jump out and things that you have to be aware of. One of them is a cultural adjustment. So the military has a very defined, very distinct culture. And when we enter the military, even as a military spouse, you become part and parcel of that culture very rapidly. You have to do it to complete your job. So you've become militarized, I'll use that word, or very indoctrinated in military ways and military ways of communicating. And then larger companies tend to have their own established cultures, their own established ways of doing things, their own lingo. So that cultural adjustment can be a con. I think this applies to service members who have been in longer. If you've been in for 20, 25, 30 years, you might want to consider that cultural adjustment may be a pretty big challenge. And then I think the other thing about larger companies that can be a disadvantage is less personalized support. They're bigger organizations. They have more people, more spaces, more places. And if you're one of those folks that wants, tailored support as you make your transition, a smaller company can probably provide those resources to you. Yeah.